Simon Johnson. I'm Science Coordinator at Kirkbymoorside School, and we're trying to use the outdoor classroom as much as we possibly can to get the children involved in outside and in their environment. So this is our outdoor science area. This is our willow dome, which unfortunately has had a terrible accident due to the high winds. As you can see, a tree has come down behind
Oh
and
yes.
crashed into the dome. So we need to repair that, but we can't really do that till the spring now.
So how did that come about, the willow dome, and what
The
were
willow
you?
dome, we worked with a few different groups. We got some funding to get someone to come in and help us build a willow dome, and to sort of develop the outside area, the outside science area. And our main aim was to have something completed, and that was the willow dome, which was looking wonderful, but is now in pieces. But it will be back together.
So what will that provide when it's grown and when you repaired it?
Well, it provide a living structure so that the children see how you can use different materials. Hopefully carry on growing. We've got a willow arch over there, which we're growing near the wildlife area. It's a bit difficult to see this time of year, but just about see it. But it's using natural materials and also using growing things growing rather than just things that are being chopped down or dead. Having said that, we've had a bit of a bonus with our tree that fell down, because we've now got some wonderful logs which we're going to use to make some furniture for the outside.
Ah.
Of course you can do things like counting the rings as well and things like that for science. But we have a nice log pile which I'll show you, but we thought we might make some very simple furniture, benches and things for the children to use when they're working out here.
Simon, just give us a bit of background to the site and your involvement in it. Presumably this was just a sort of a grassy area.
It was a grassy area. There was nothing here. This had been originally, I think when the school was built, it had been the dumping ground for all the building materials they couldn't get rid of. So they literally dumped them and just put a bit of soil over them. And I thought it would make an ideal area for a wildlife area, because it has a hedge and then it had backs onto fields, and beyond the fields there's a wood over there, and so you get a lot of wildlife actually coming in to the wildlife area. So
And your classroom is
this is my classroom here, so I'm sort of spend my entire life out here, quite honestly.
So talk about that. Talk about the involvement of this, essentially an outdoor classroom for
Yeah,
you.
well, I mean, as an outdoor area, you can use it for so many different things across the curriculum. You can use it for poetry and writing. Naturally, you can use it for science and environmental science. You can do lots of maths work with it. I would even claim to use IT with it, in that we have wildlife cameras that we set up, especially in the spring, for the frogs in the pond, so that we can see them. And it has a night light on it, so that, because they love the infrared light, the frogs, they'll come to it when it's on. So that's great fun. So it covers a whole area. Plus, we're trying to get the children involved in growing their own things and sustainability. So we've got our polytunnel over there and some of the raised beds over here, which you might like to go and have a look at.
Now
Plus we've got lots of fruit trees that we're growing as well.
we live in a rural area. You would expect that most children would know. No, go on.
No, that really isn't the case. That would be wonderful to think like that, but it just isn't. Unless children are particularly involved, sons or daughters of farmers or people like that, they really have not a lot of idea. It's amazing how much they don't know even about the changing of the seasons. One of the things I do is the RSPB bird watch in January. But before we do that, because we have to identify the birds that come, we do a lot of bird identification. And the simplest of birds, the children really don't. They're all sparrows, or they're all blackbirds, if you know what I mean. So it's a bit of an eye-opener. You have to really get children involved. Once they're hooked, they really are hooked. They really enjoy doing that sort of thing. But you don't expect to be a lot of previous understanding or knowledge. Start from scratch and build up from there.
And what's your experience, Simon? Because you're the kingpin in this school in terms of all these environmental activities. Where does your drive come from?
Where does my drive come from? My drive comes from the real desire to see children involved with their own environments. We need people to look after our environments, and if we don't get them at this age, it's too late. We really need them to get hooked and interested on it, and I think one of the best ways to do so is to get them involved with the habitats around them, or have some habitats for them to look at. They love to be involved with animals and things like that. So that's really where my drive comes from. I want them to really get involved. We really need them. This is our future generation. We really need someone to look after what's left. So this is how I feel about it at the moment. I think it really should be an extremely important part of any education system, quite honestly.
Let's have a look at some more aspects of the site.
Raised beds. We have when in the summer, when it's looking better, that's a herb bed, so we try and get the cook and the kitchen staff to use that in their cooking. This one has got some blackcurrant bushes in, which I've only just got, and this one's got raspberry canes in, and I've got a gooseberry as well somewhere. I think it's in there. The idea was to have each class involved with a raised bed, but there's a lot of pressures on teachers for a lot of other things, and it doesn't always work. So I really felt that if I could get something that could not look after itself, but you could grow year after year, rather than just doing veg in them, it might help. Plus, most children love fruit much more than they love vegetables, so they tend hoping that they will eat these much more readily than the vegetables we've grown. So that's the idea. But we've had to move the raised beds once or twice because of building work around the school. The other thing is our orchard here. We're growing as many trees as we can in the area we've got, and it's very successful this year. We had a huge amount of fruit, which was fantastic at the Harvest Festival.
Brilliant.
I used it, and we juiced quite a lot of it, so the children have juice drinks, and they ate quite a lot as well, and even the guinea pigs benefit from that.
And then you have your compost corner.
We have our compost corner over here, which I'm trying to encourage every class to use, and also the kitchen staff to use. They're almost full of the bins now. They need turning out, and it needs turning over and getting the good compost out, but I'll leave it over winter. I did have some bats roosting in it, some pipistrelle bats, so I kind of left it.
Yeah.
So I opened it up, and there was this movement, and there were some little pipistrelles in there, so I left them in there. That was sort of early autumn. They're probably gone now. They'll find a better place to hibernate. But wonderful to see, and some of the children dashed up to see these little pipistrelle bats asleep, which is fantastic.
Wonderful.
So yeah, that's our compost area. We're sort of trying to expand that and get as many bins as we can, and also get people to use them.
Is this a problem at the school? It's kind of, you're obviously very keen, but getting on staff and other
you can't always expect everyone else to be as keen as me. In fact, they're not. I mean, it's a passion I have. At least you can say when the children come into my class, they're going to really do this. So, and I mean, everybody is driven by different things, and I think it's very important that we sort of, if you're passionate about something, you share it. But obviously, when they come to my class, this is the passion I have, and this is what they do.
So they have their green year with you.
They do, yeah, indeed, yeah. And a lot of it rubs off because I have an environmental group, and I get an age range, from the older ones that have passed through down to my present class. It's quite interesting that some of them obviously catch on and enjoy doing it and come back for the environmental group, so that's quite nice.
Great.
It's quite nice to do.
Let's go and have a look at the pond.
Sure, yeah.
Through the archway.
Yeah,
lovely.
This is our willow arch, which needs trimming, but we'll wait till the spring.
Now, Yorkshire Water, I believe, were involved in.
Yes, they had a called the Million Green Fingers, and you had to apply to them, and if you knew somebody local that worked for Yorkshire Water, which fortunately we did, and we won a grant, and they came and they gave us a lot of time. It's not a lot of money, but a lot of time. But I mean, they came, they did some wonderful things. They built a bridge so we can pond dip really well to the pond, which is fantastic. They really helped build the raised beds. And round the other side of school, we've got a maze on the grounds, what we call them, which is fantastic. That's had to be moved actually, but it's still there. And they also helped build these paths around the wildlife area, which is brilliant.
So what have you got living in the pond?
Living in the pond, we've got some newts. We've got frogs, quite a lot of frogs. We do have some toads visits, but don't hang around. Obviously we have the male frogs that some of them hibernate in the bottom of the pond, the females disappear. But it's always busy in the spring. We always get lots of frogs spawn and lots of frogs calling. We put the camera down here and they can watch from the classroom so they don't disturb them.
Right.
We get some dragonfly larvae, we get great diving beetles and a few other things. It's just been revamped this autumn, and it's been heavily netted this year to try and prevent the leaves clogging it up and making it too acid.
So is it you have to put on the waders and get in there and clean it out?
Yes, it is, I'm afraid. I usually get somebody to come and help volunteer, but yes. I spent an afternoon doing it really, about 4 or 5 hours sort of just dredging it and getting everything out and then really sort of cleaning it up. And it's coming on great. It's really quite well established, but it did need revamping this year, I think, just to encourage more wildlife. The only problem I've got is duckweed, which is a bane of ponds. It does prevent light getting in and prevent some of the oxygenating plants from living very well, but we just have to keep on top of it. The children love to skim it. We have a hedgehog house down here.
And have you got any residents?
I haven't looked. I haven't looked, so we could have. I'm not sure. Hopefully we have.
But you made some hedgehog boxes, is that right?
We have made some hedgehog boxes. Another thing I've done with the environmental club as much as anything, really. We've got a lovely log pile here, which is now rotting beautifully, and it's really starting to get a lot of creatures living in it, hibernating in it. So you get quite a lot. It's quite nice and damp.
Yep.
But it's rotting really well now and coming apart. So you get lots of wood lice and millipedes and centipedes and all sorts of things in there. You even get a few mice making little nests in there as well. We have had a few bumblebee nests in the ground below. And there's a robin playing Merry Pop with us.
Yeah.
Hello. Our bat box up there, our pipistrelle bat box, which is used as a summer roost.
Oh,
but funnily enough, some of the bats like to use some of the bird boxes.
Oh, do they?
Because there's a bit of a hole in the bottom, so they sort of slide in through there and use that. Unfortunately, our bench has rotted away, but we thought we might use that. We have got some more benches, but we're also going to make them out of the logs. This is the remains of things I couldn't believe we got out of the pond. And our next little project for the spring is to make our little mini beast hotel here.
Ah, that's what they're for.
Please excuse the gnome. It was one of my staff's little jokes.
Just keeping an eye on it for you.
Yeah. So we're going to fill that with different materials, logs, plant pots, different things, so that different creatures can live in it. Hopefully.
Well, this looks quite an established site. Obviously, these things take time to develop, but it looks absolutely fantastic. If somebody was starting off from scratch, what would be after your experience of running this? What would you say were the first things that you should sort of plan to put in?
Well, identify your site and make sure nobody's going to nick it off you and build on it. It doesn't have to be a big site. If you want a pond, you can have something the size of a bucket and it'll still make a good pond. You don't have to have something fantastic. Just try and form as many different little habitats as you possibly can. And try and get the children involved in the actual building and the planning, really, as much as you can. But do identify your site carefully so that nobody's going to disturb it, because there's nothing more upsetting than you having done something and then they say, oh, we're going to build on it. A sensory garden went at the front, they built on it. So try and find somewhere sort of that's not going to be disturbed. And also go with what you've got. If you've only got very small scale, you can still go a fantastic wildlife area. If you've got a big area, well, lucky you, and really go for it. Get the children really excited about it. Really plug it all year. Do lots of stuff on the seasons and the creatures you see in the different seasons and different plants. They do love to find out, and they're so surprised because they don't know these things. Yeah. And I think that's an important sort
and
of
cost-wise, it doesn't cost much.
Cost-wise, it doesn't have to cost a great deal. There are people around who still will give grants, and you can sort of try local people, see if they'll donate things. The local carpet company gave us a load of carpet to line this when we did it, sort of thing, and it's a big help because it costs a lot for sand otherwise. I got a grant from a local wildlife group for the pond liner, and we paid to have a guy come in and just dig it a bit. He was a little digger for about 2 hours, which helped an awful lot. Get your staff on board as well. Invite them to a wildlife barbecue. Get them end up not wildlife barbecue. A barbecue and get them working, and then promise them a barbecue or something like that. So that sort of thing, and sort of try and get everybody involved. And they quite enjoy it usually when they roll the sleeves up.
So every school should have a wildlife garden?
Oh, absolutely. Wherever you are, in the middle of a city or wherever you are, you can still get a wildlife area. You really can. So even if it's a tiny little area, have a go. It's so rewarding. It's great to see the children using it.
Thanks, Simon.
Okay, thank you.